Hello everyone and welcome back to Day 2, Round 4 of Challengers Northern Europe Polaris. We have just seen FOKUS take Hukar's map pick in the form of Pearl, a map which both of them have a history of playing on, a history of overtimes even as well, but this one not quite going the distance. FOKUS able to nip it in the bud just before it got to the end of that game. So now we head towards Haven, a map which both of these teams have also played, but brought different ideas to the table with Moxie.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we're going to sort of have that battle of Killjoy versus Sova. FOKUS like to run the Killjoy. Their opponent likes to run that Sova to be able to counter the Killjoy. But we also have one team preferring to run the Cypher, who Cars prefer to run the Cypher here. Whereas it's actually going to be FOKUS locking in what appears to be the Fade if they run with the composition that they had last time. And this is something that you and I were discussing in the break, because you obviously, for that Jet, again, you're going to struggle into all of the utility that is against you. And I think my concern for FOKUS is that they were able to really just shoulder off the loss of Yugi in early rounds on their attack because they had that KO. If they're running the Breach instead of the KO, it's a lot harder to be able to still push forward onto those sites and find those safer entrances if your duelist is down than it was previously, and that is something that Hukas can take full advantage of. As we've seen, when they're defending, they're very much a proactive team. If they can find those first deaths, first kills onto their opponent, they will be able to really take advantage of all of the advantages that Haven just naturally gives the defensive half. There's a reason that it is so strongly advantageous to the defense. That's because if you do buffs, you know, free sites 5 players. Someone's always going to be short-handed on the attacking side.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't you say that Haven is more attacker-sided?
I mean, it's definitely one of those weird ones, right? It's been through a couple of different changes. When we had things like the Breach and the Neon come through, there was a really fun composition that Neons would just go straight in. A lot of the time, the defenders would maybe try and take advantage of sewers and short, where they would run the fault line, and then either a Jet or a Neon would push really aggressively towards lobby and catch players out as the round started. But since we've sort of seen a lot of players really being able to predict that happening, and so you'll see the attacking side open, everyone wait just a couple of moments to see if that utility comes on through and they can catch out a play being a little bit too cheeky, find that first kill, and then continue on in that path. But for the attacking team, it also really becomes a question of how well are you controlling those angles, right? If you want to play towards the B, you either need to be on pistols or you need to have full control of Link. If you want to have control of C, then you need to know that you're not going to get backstabbed towards the entrance of long. As we have a look at these compositions, and it does appear like we're not really seeing any major shifts from the comps that both of these teams have previously shown.
Yeah, I find it interesting as well when you look at your boy Lewis on the Breach and then Yugi on the Jet. I think those two agents work incredibly well in tandem. You have the Breach Flash and the Jet Dash to set them up for, taking that aggressive space towards both sites because, well, I say both sites, right? There is a third site. It's like the sort of annoying stepbrother maybe that you don't talk about, or the middle child perhaps in the form of B. But at least as far as A and C is concerned, there's a box in the middle, a space in between, you dash, you flash, and you take that space away. And yeah, the play style I think is a little bit different from Yugi on the attack. They will be starting on the defense this time around, and yeah, in terms of duelist, it's also an interesting one because usually when we have a fade, we expect it to then be paired with a raise, and we've seen teams make great use of this in combination with the Breach additionally as well. But for Hukars, they've gone with something a lot more standard. When I say a lot more standard, I'm talking about in terms of the agents that they've gone for. It's almost a very like 1.0 version of the game kind of composition, if that makes any sense. You've got all of those agents have been in since the official release. It's sticking to your guts, something comfortable that they can try and get a result here with.
Yeah, sort of the old flavor of Valorant base releases. We are going to see Hukars on that attacking side. Matsky already using the Cypher cam to get a peek towards long to see whether or not FOKUS are looking to challenge that specific angle. There's the cage to make sure that they can cross safely out of lobby. Kips are just checking to make sure that no one is pushing in. Hides in the dark cover, almost finds a pick, but Mishu's still able to come up on top with those shots. Does get dunked to 45 health as a result, but I don't think Hukars are complaining. Off of their Jet, not only have they entered onto site, but the spike is also down, and FOKUS now have to try and find an answer to this retake.
They're not going to have too many. Your boy Lewis has the Aftershock and the fault line to try and carve something out here. Perhaps clean away the pocket, which currently we see masks posted up in. But there's util also available for Hukars to try and strip them back a little bit. Oh my goodness! Peeling back the layers instead, it's FOKUS. Yugi with a couple headshots, Akimbo playing from underneath. Lewis getting both! Flipping his back and making sure it's covered. The A retake on Haven, one of the most difficult when you don't have the utility for you. The peaks come in almost dry, and they're able to claim all the kills off the back of it from the good work of Mishu at the start.
Yep. I mean, on paper, it's a very hard retake. As you said, if you don't have the utility, it's so hard to be able to make your way out of tunnel, but it's that gorgeous aftershock. The communication between Yugi and your boy Lewis that, okay, I'm aftershocking here. If there's a player stuck behind, they're going to immediately have to try and jump away from that breach utility. Otherwise, they're going to take so much damage. And Yugi is that. All he has to do is anticipate when the head is going to pop. And as a result, they're able, as you said, to win at a numbers disadvantage as Hukars now deciding, okay, we're going to push towards B.
It's the first pistol round that FOKUS have found so far in the series, and Lewis says, I actually want to play another pistol round. Let me just use my Ghost instead of the Spectre real quick to go for that peek, as Mishu is caught in the sight lines, which are now beginning to form in the crux of the map as 2 kills already found for FOKUS on B. Hukars looking to ferry that spike elsewhere, perhaps, as Capeset does get spotted out in the corner. on the Omen, you always have the chance to fake the shadow step, try something else, but Lewis is backing him up and eventually gets involved and then also drops. It's back to a 3 versus 3.
One enemy remaining.
Oh, but Yugi anchoring on C-site with the Bulldog.
Too easy.
Picks up all 3 in Garage and is able to once again win the round off of some really clean shots coming on through for that Jet. I mean, like you said, it is surprising that neither of these teams opt towards that Raze being so strong in terms of those spaces, especially in places like Garage or Sewers early on in the gates where you can just use the utility in the small space, knowing that it's going to ricochet and hit as many players as it potentially could. But that Jet's movement and the ability to just sit and anchor those sites, knowing that you still have that dash and you can get back to the safety of your team if things take a turn for the worse, is absolutely instrumental for Yugi to have the confidence to sit that deep and anticipate Hookah's moving through from Garage.
It's an incredibly ballsy play from Capeset there. Has the dark cover, of course, for any players that would have moved out from the boxes, but completely open to the rest of mid, removes the spy cam, and here come FOKUS to try and reinstate some more control towards A long. Finds a kill from Lewis on the Sheriff. I don't know how many more times I'm going to be saying that before this series wraps up, but if the form continues, we may not be here much longer.
Yeah, this was something that I was talking to you about a little bit before, right? That Cypher is really strong on the defense in terms of just shutting down those angles, but on the attack, if you're not in position for that retake and to stop the defense from walking back onto one of these sites, it can be a lot harder at shutting down the space that the defenders get to play around with, and you can really see it being a little bit of a hindrance for Hookahs at the moment. Yes, it guarantees you safety through lobby in towards either Sewers or A long, but those angles haven't really been the problem for Hookahs to deal with. Worse, if FOKUS see a Cypher cage or a camera, they just make sure they have the utility to be able to flash an opponent who walks through it and find the kill regardless.
We usually expect it to be the Jet player that falls off the back of Breach utility, but this time it is Radsky on the Cypher this time around, moving in towards the site. And they've got a post-plant setup here. The spy cam is back online to potentially take some kind of contact, and we'll see if it is opted for. The layers of utility coming through one by one as David invests the Owl drone. On the opposite end, there's plenty at which FOKUS have to use themselves here. 2 players inside one cloudburst. Akimbo claiming pretty much all of them. Down to a 1v1, and Yugi gets his 3rd for the 2nd round in a row. The Bulldog blasts away Hokars, and now they're up to 3.
For the 2nd time, FOKUS are able to win a retake on A. Again, off of the back of some really good utility usage from that Breach. Your boy Lewis hits that fault line so that Yugi can drop down with the Bulldog and close up the distance. First with the Sheriff, then with the Bulldog biting into those players, collapsing onto any remainders of Hookahs with enough time to get the defuse, and once again FOKUS walks away with a lead. And once again, Yugi has in his hands the operator, something that Hookahs struggled to play into when they had the economy all the way back on the first map of Pearl. Now they have very little to be able to challenge it. They even toyed with the prospect of buying a Guardian just to be able to match distance wits with the sniper, but decided against it.
This already looks to be a fast injection of pace from Hookahs. Perhaps try and break away from the conditioning, set something up, a new precedent for them to then develop upon when the guns do fall into their hands a round or so from now. But you're not going to get much done against Capeset in that kind of form. What a shot onto Radsky. A nice adjustment in towards pocket, and may just be eyeing up the possibility of a couple more here. There you go. And maybe there's even a 3rd. Go on then. You might as well. It'd be rude not to. Won't able to do it this time, but nearly. And Hookahs are completely pinned in. There was the injection of pace, and then they just slowed things down. Now they're sitting and getting picked off like flies.
This was the real difference, unfortunately, for Hookahs, that AWP. With the AWP being in play, they can't peek A long, they can't peek B long, they don't have the weaponry to be able to go toe-to-toe with it, so they had to try and sneak and flank their way around Garage, hop up through window, and maybe catch the back of Yugi, and as a result, they have to walk through the gauntlet of Garage with Kipsa set up with that dark cover to be able to just hit those shots onto anyone who passes through. The toll is extraordinarily expensive for Hookahs to be able to find any passage on Haven at the moment, and it might be a price they're unable to pay because we're seeing FOKUS 4-0.
Yeah, I would usually consider this map to be one which is more attacker-sided because you have 3 different sites to manipulate, but by the same hand, it's one which also favors that trademark Valorant momentum to the 10th degree, right? If you're able to get a read of how it is the attacking team wants to try and play this and manipulate the map, then you're going to have a lot of success. And we've seen it already, right? They're up 4 rounds, the conversion of the bonus, the operator now in the hands of Yugi, and free-flowing in terms of kills, and free-flowing in terms of worries that Hookahs have in terms of what they want to approach, where they want to go on the map, and the utility that they actually have to deal with it. You're looking at the owl drone, maybe a spy cam, and then the fault line to actually bring them off the angle later on. Now coming into a timeout, some things need to change. We saw Mishu on the pistol round take those first 2 kills, but hasn't really put a word in edgeways since then, and it makes you wonder what the reasoning for having the Jet in the comp is, and what the strategy you're looking to build from that agent is.
Yeah, so it's actually really interesting that, as you pointed out, when you have those free sites, you do feel like the defense should be short-handed, but by having the operator in Yugi's hands, it's a really clever thing that FOKUS is doing, and a lot of teams who have strong defenses on Haven do it as well. They use the op to shorten the space that the attackers have to play around with, allowing effectively those free sites to become 2, because the op's presence entirely just marks off big giant red X scrolled on the minimap, one of those sites for an attacking team to push into.
Too late.
Oh, Mishu clears the other angle this time around on that venture in towards sewers, but unfortunately gets in a place which isn't much cleaner. 6 feet under. An immediate trade, but this isn't so bad. That's Lewis now down, one of the main people you've got to be looking towards in any kind of FOKUS retake with the amount of utility that Breach has. And if they can slow down the pace, perhaps find an opening and bring this to an afterplant, it does bode very well for how they want to have success in this round.
Especially because Master's about to hit that Rolling Thunder. And that could be so big for Hookahs to sit onto, knowing that FOKUS are going to try and look for that retake, but they try and push onto that A side, and they're not able to clear the members of FOKUS who were still entrenched upon that hallowed ground. The spike is going to be there, but they've lost the breach. They've lost any opportunity to just grab and bag the spike onto a different side as well, with it going down. Akimbo has his ultimate, but he's not going to be able to use it to get the spike and dash his way towards C and force a reposition. And as a result, FOKUS are able to turn what should be a detriment, the spike having gone down, and put them in that 40-second hostage situation into such a huge advantage.
It's a great peek back in from Yugi there as well that we see. And yeah, I think, to be honest, the fact that FOKUS are able to trade out 1-for-1 on every single player within A is fantastic for them in that situation as well, because we saw the neural theft coming in, but then Mars just walked straight out, blindsided by it, and it was a free pick on a player who otherwise was pinned to the corner of graffiti. So little oversteps here and there, little mismatches perhaps for Hookahs, and now coming into another successive gun round as that lost bonus has finally hit the full height. Hopefully they have a chance at pegging one back and making something here, because it's going to be a matter of time before this half is not really salvageable.
Look at all of this utility invested so early on by Hookahs. Fault line, recon, Cypher Cage, everything that they have to just try and push towards C, and unfortunately for them, Gipso is posted up on double. There's the Clydeburst, there's the Nano Swarm. He knows that the Jet is inside that smoke. Won't be able to pick up the kill. Mishu is able to stop the tradition of the 1-for-1 trade.
It was a really, really nice adjustment from Mishu as well, because we've not seen Kepset play there before. A decent idea brought to the table by FOKUS, but now Hookahs into the post plant. They set up 4 long. There is a Hunter's Fury. You've also got the Rolling Thunder, so it's a logical decision to be making at this point in time, but Mishu is fairly unsupported within the site itself, and that Haunt has already revealed his position. now marked, the more utility continues to flow through, but this is still buying time. Hookahs will be heavy on the ult investment if they want to bring it over the line, and it seems as if that will be the strategy, as all 4 players inside the site will be getting tagged up by it. Purpo finds a nice shot, but the defuse has barely even begun. Another ultimate coming in, perhaps a little bit more than was necessary, but Hookahs get it done. They do it in the end, and now that is their first.
FOKUS didn't lose the op, though. It was actually a really smart decision from them to give the op to your boy Lewis, knowing he's going to be away from the fight, setting up towards that rolling thunder, and that Yugi just comes in, the jet amongst the pigeons, and creates so much dissent, so much chaos, that Purpo was able to swing onto that side and catch the members of Hookahs who were looking to look towards Cubby, and use the angle that they have to catch onto any member of FOKUS looking for that defuse. But so much time has passed, and Hookahs, they use that Hunter's Fury, making sure that FOKUS in that chaos aren't able to find that defuse in a moment where Hookahs aren't able to try and chase after them for it. But as a result, they don't have it to oust Yugi's position early in this round, and Yugi once again has Mishu's number. The aggressive jet falls, and FOKUS slow Hookahs' approach down again.
It was the head-to-head that we were looking at coming into this game as well, and while Mishu hasn't had the best performance so far, you could probably credit him on the space making that he has been able to give to Hookahs. On that occasion, it's nothing more than a confirmation that we did in fact see Yugi posted up with the AWP. Razki goes for that one, but it's traded out on A. Nightfall confirms suspicions with barely any time left that this won't be an execute there for the time being. Since it was invested so early on, Hookahs are actually weighing up the option of them hitting this one a little bit later than anticipated, and it could be a decent idea.
They are going to have to deal, however, with Purpo on this fade, who is about to peek onto long and catch the ruse.
Yeah.
They're able to see the members of Hookahs and relay the information. FOKUS now going to make an absolute beeline for the operator to cut off the members of Hookahs before the spike goes down. Really beautiful dark cover, floating into position to deny Yugi that line of sight, allowing Hookahs to survive all 3 of their members and now catch into those post-plant positions. And they don't have a breach this time for FOKUS. The op is not going to find anyone out of position, or at least it shouldn't! But Yugi's still able to find the Sova!
Just jumps out and now has the blades to get to work, carving another brilliant retake here for FOKUS, it seems, and that will be 3 for him. 6 for FOKUS now, and they start to pull away, continue to pull away, I should say, after that slight blip on the radar with a Hookahs round. These A retakes have been brilliant every single time, and yeah, they didn't even have the breach player to work with. Looking back on how that one actually panned out, Purpo wanted to collect as much information as possible, but you know, curiosity killed the cat, and I believe Faye does actually have cat paws on her feet, so perhaps it is you know, quite fitting in that that's how things end up going. But
I mean, curiosity killed the cat, but it's Yugi who's been killing all of the members.
Yeah,
of Yugi
is the dog with the hungry claws or something like that. I don't know.
I think one of these days they're gonna give Jet Wolverine claws as a melee skin. Yeah. I'm sure.
I say that as well, that Fade is canonically like tied to a cat, because they posted a picture the other day and the Prowler's actually a cat. I had no idea. I don't know what I thought it was, just like some bewitched dog or something.
Well,
like,
I mean, it's so weird that Sky's Trailblazers in comms are called tigers sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, there is that. It's the Tasmanian tiger, and then you've got the cabbages, of course. But no cabbages here. The only thing getting a meal made out of will be Mishu, served up on a platter. And just like that, the Rolling Thunder will claim a couple more assists. Lewis even taking one for his own. The cherry on top of a delectable dinner. Now a 5 versus 2, and what do you do in this situation? Akimbo has the From the Shadows. You could play for a rotate, but I mean, even then, he doesn't have the spike.
He doesn't have the
2 players,
info.
estranged lovers either side of A, and well, Mast has found one, but the flank is slowly coming in.
Oh, there it is. Purpo coming all the way up into lobby is now applying pressure onto Akimbo.
No.
Oh no! Oh, Oh, that's just so mean. You see the aftershock, you see the animation of the C's being hurled in. There's a reason we see Rays paired so often with a fade, because the play is you throw in the C's, you throw in the paint shells, and they're just not able to escape death as it showers and ricochets all around them. And that is just an aftershock that you are tethered to. Absolutely inescapable for the Omen.
I like that FOKUS wanted to bring the fight to Hukars in that situation, though, and not completely sit off once they had long control. Wait for the execute, maybe get faked out. Lewis has only been on the IGL role for a few officials, like he said, but Haven is a trial by fire. One of the best maps to really try and work that in, and the call to go for that play there, I think, is brilliant. And we've seen an adjustment here. Utility towards front B, Cape set to head it off and take the head clean off of Mishu as they try an entry yet again, but what's gonna happen?
Nano Swarms as well, both set off at the entrance to B so that Hukars could not play off of the space that their jet had created for a split second before their cranium was unfortunately meeting a rather brutal end. Really good tracking coming on through from these members on FOKUS's side to be able to catch where that jet dash is going to end them up, so they're still able to find the pick as the Cloudburst comes through. And Yugi, with that long angle all the way in the back of C, isn't able to find a kill, but is able to secure the continued existence of their own life. So even if Hukars are able to find any member on the C side, he's still going to have that angle and force them to swing into the op. The kills are coming through for Hukars, but what they don't currently have is the spike. Unfortunately, C side is barren of defense, but Mask cannot move forward and grab the spike because of the way that Hukars' members had funneled it towards the B on that first initial push, expecting Mishu to create the space necessary for them to be able to move forwards.
Yeah, I love how we had the little in view on the free cam of the spike halfway through this absolute brawl taking place on C. It felt like a deathmatch game for a moment, and Yugi, of course, is that annoying person who decides to play op in deathmatch for whatever reason. A couple of kills back, but, they're going to have picked the weapon back through. Yugi's on the op again. This ever-looming problem hanging over the heads of Hukars, who are looking downtrodden, as they have done many, many games in a row here. Already one timeout invested. Do you really want to bring in your second here on the half? I don't think you do.
No, I think you sort of just have to accept the fact that this Cypher comp is not at its strongest on the attack. You're holding on to that timeout to have when you need to talk things through on your defense when the Cypher really comes into his own. The problem for them is that they do not want to go in this half so many rounds down that they only need to fritter away a couple before they lose the series.
Yeah, and they're losing all their members right now to the hands of one player. Capeset taking out 3, now a 4 versus 2, and both remaining players pinned to the corner. Purpo not anywhere near it just yet, so they can at least be spared another use of the C's and Aftershock combo. But I'll tell you who is there. It is Lewis, and he's got a Vandal, which is just as good. 10 rounds played, 90% of them going towards FOKUS, and even then, it still feels a little bit generous towards Hukars when I say 90%, because it's a singular round that they've been able to pick up.
Again,
I think you do want to see that timeout, to be honest. I know I said before the previous round, let's not invest it, but there comes a point where if you don't actually slow down the pace and rectify what's going on here, you're not going to have any rounds to challenge for other than the pistol when it comes to the second half and actually use that timeout.
I think what Hukars really need to do is take advantage of the fact that there are 3 sites. We are yet to properly see them fully fake. Akimbo has been sitting on this from the shadows for, it feels like, the entire match. With all of the potential of just having his team push forward onto a site, sell the fact that, okay, this is genuinely a push, we are really wanting to put the spike down here, and then TP on out. And take advantage of C being so far away from A, but who cares? All of the confidence that they had playing on pool, it feels has just faded out. And in part, it feels down to these early rounds where they've just tried to go up against Yugi, got to the point where they should be able to win them. By all traditions and history of Haven, if you get that spike onto A, you win. And I think it's just taken so much momentum out of their sails because Yugi was able to win those retakes.
In comes the Rolling Thunder, but That's immediately traded out by Lewis, and Lime will be the first to claim a kill. Spike still out in mid, 30 seconds left, and look how disjointed this attack is from Hukars. Multiple areas of the map all being challenged at once. Finally, the Spike looks to ferry its way towards A. Yugi's holding down the angle, however, and I think we know how this one ends. One kill for Masked, but that may just be the only parting gift that they get before hitting the Underworld, and that is now a scoreline of 10-1. Double digits for FOKUS inside the first half of Haven.
Pour one out for Akimbo. We got to see the Omen's perspective as he TP'd out. We didn't get to see his perspective from where he ended up, and I'll tell you, it was unfortunately a TP into heaven, and Yugi very quickly turned heaven into hell. He literally heard the Omen TP, figured out what was happening, pushed very quickly forward with the op, and was able to dispatch Akimbo shortly afterwards. This is very much the tale for Hukars of what exactly do we do here. Because, oh my goodness, they line up into one conga line to push into courtyard, and Yugi, with one bullet, gets 2 for the price of 1 and isn't even traded out for it.
Yeah, this is just FOKUS fully confident at this point in time. Maybe a little overzealous there, or just spectacular from Radsky more than anything else. Gets the first pulse off of the neural theft. Was going to say coming into this round that perhaps playing for some space on the map, slowing things down and looking for that pick and moving accordingly from the neural theft would be a way to play it, but something you certainly don't want to do is face Yugi in mid, and he's already made them pay. We'll back up here for now. Lime may actually just go fully deep towards spawn just behind the gong and then bring in the lockdown to make this retake work, but looking at how confident they are, they may even move further up. No, it does seem to be that that is the case that we expect. Mask won't be investing the aftershock because you're not going to break it this time around. And in terms of post-plant positionings that they have, really far from ideal, and Mars even gonna get caught in it. Don't do it to him. Yep, there we go. A little more of a painless death as the shot to the head connects instead, and Purpo finishes the deal. 11-1. FOKUS on their defending side for Haven.
That has to be so painful for Hukars. They're finally able to push onto a site. They're finally able. Such a good shot.
Look who you're taking as well. You're taking the duelist and your initiator, who is there to clear the space, to stop you running into the operator.
Yeah.
They're running on a high confidence right now for FOKUS, and for Hukars, it's the complete opposite. I said coming into this game, you're looking at 2 different rosters on 2 completely different trajectories. FOKUS, yeah, they had that game against Apex, which looked a bit shoddy, but there is some serious quality there, and that's one that will leave on the afterburners for playoffs at this point. And Hukars, who just can't quite seem to make things click, and you can only feel sorry for them.
I mean, Yugi's just sending this team to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah.
Literally,
he's 21-1!
Yeah, he's about to summon Exodia at the moment.
I didn't even look at the scoreboard. He's 21-1.
He's died once. He's
the
died
Grim
once.
Reaper! The Grim Reaper's in the server!
It's insane, the performance he's been having. As a defensive jet, FOKUS 2 rounds away. Hukars finally able to make the Cypher work on the defense. The sides have swapped. This is where I said this composition would come alive. The question is, can they still dig their way out of the grave that Yugi has dug them when they were on attack?
We'll have to see. Yugi has halved the KD there or whatever by finding his second death now. But Hukars into this retake. They've just encircled players from every single angle. There's no way that they should be able to fight out of this, but Purpo will do his damn best to try it. Capezet stuck in the corner, and now it has to be an ace if he's to win it. I don't think it's possible, but there's always a chance. You can't rule it out, but Akimbo is there. Hukars get the round. You expect them to win, at least with how that panned out at the start. If things didn't head their way and somehow there was a chance for FOKUS to upturn things, that would just be it in a nutshell, right? Finally, Radsky becomes the Archangel to Yugi's Grim Reaper, and finds a couple kills to start things off.
I'm concerned though, because the trajectory that we've seen in Hukars, yes, they've been able to win those pistols, but whenever they won pistols, they would always lose the round after. And if they do that now, they're going to be seeing a lot of match points for FOKUS's side. This round is going to be so important. This Marshall needs to come up big. You can see as well that they understand how crucial this round is going to be. Not only have they brought up into the Marshall a Vandal, 2 Vandals. Is out, 1 for Akimbo, 1 for Masked. They are taking no chances. Really good trapwire. Gonna make sure that garage control is going to be so hard for FOKUS to take without immediately giving the game up. And this should set those rifles set up on the backside of C to bite into any player moving through from garage. It's great positioning. It's positioning FOKUS use themselves.
Yeah, the setup is there from Radski. Had the cyber cage inside the horn to just dampen the tune a little bit, but Hookahs will want something a little more upbeat, and it's not gonna happen. The only thing getting beaten right now is them, and it's by Lewis with his Sheriff. Trusty sidearm every single time, bearing the goods. Mishu from the backlines. Here we go. Marshall in hand, and now Spike possession as well under wraps. Nothing really for these players to re-challenge with except for throwing their own bodies on the line, and instead it fuels the fire. A dash in his pocket, a tailwind now popped, and a prospective chance to go for something extra. Backside is where this post plant will end up. It's a 2 versus 2, and there are upgrades for these players.
Marshall still gonna be that. It's significantly limiting FOKUS's control. Oh, they knew that Mishu was there with the Marshall. They wanted to take control of long so that they had a little bit more space to work with and could try and funnel David in. Recon bots there. Your boy Lewis finds the shot. Vandal onto Mishu. Charges up the flashpoint. Holds on to see whether or not David's going to go for the defuse. Holds on to that fault line. Sends it on out. Doesn't catch on to the Sova. Doesn't do the damage necessary, but he's just keeping the spike in play. David's able to find the pick. Doesn't have half the spike stuck though. There's the first half. It's going to be close, but he should have enough time. And Hookahs breathe a significant sigh of relief because your boy Lewis almost clutched it out.
He had absolutely everything that he needed except for health, I think, right? Walks in towards spawn. Oh, look, there's a Vandal. Okay, that'll help. I actually have my Aftershock and Fault Line to make this as long of an ordeal as possible, and eventually gets caught out around at the second peak, but that was incredibly worrying. And now Hookahs have to make a real investment to keep this close in terms of weaponry. FOKUS have everything that they want. Economy on a bit of a knife's edge for both teams, but this is a grand opportunity now for FOKUS to see things out a little sooner than they would have hoped.
Well, all top going to be secured for your boy Lewis, getting real close to that Rolling Thunder. As it is going to be David trying to post up and stop any death ball that FOKUS look to pick up and swing the momentum towards taking control of A. Mask running that Bulldog. Mishu already down early. Line with the Vandal picks up the Duelist for Hookahs. That is not good for this team. No smokes for them to really be able to work with outside of Akimbo and Radski. Is still FOKUS, not making a move, waiting to see whether or not Hookahs gets too aggressive and looks to try and even out the numbers. And they've spotted defenders' positions because of it.
They've doubled up in towards short. This is brilliant. David moves one over to help out Masked and finds a couple of kills for his efforts as well. Tucked to the corner, has to burst with no ammo left. And now we're down to a much closer situation. The Spike has time to move elsewhere. We've got a Spike Am in towards mid and the trapwire in garage as well. So Radski can deal with this nicely. B will be the destination, it seems. You really want a bit more control than just the front of the site itself, but it seems to be denied almost instantly. Radski finds 1 kill, and now Lime posts up 1 versus 2, has to play his angles right and isolate these duels. Hookahs looking to just clear things out one at a time, but keep close to one another. It's a scary place and they're holding hands, but Lime has gone all the way around the opposite side, and now it's David isolated alone. Akimbo just sticking this one out like a champ and seems to be getting it, even if the shots may not be there for him, which they are. Hookahs up to a 4th.
Well, we
yeah,
said
again,
this...
1 player left.
We said this composition would look a lot stronger when they were on the defensive half, and we can definitely see the power of that Cypher comp coming on through. But again, it feels so much pressure, so much stress for these members of FOKUS. They are 2 rounds away from dropping out of this series, and this is information that they are going to know, and it is going to weigh on them. It's gonna be a lot easier for FOKUS to be able to play around with. Yes, they have 2 points away from match point, but even if they drop this map, they still have another to be able to play around with. There's the trap wire, Yugi immediately pushing on through with it. Fireburst comes on down. FOKUS not going to be able to isolate the jet out, but Mass from backboard will be able to pick Yugi up. But Kitsa and Lime are still with the sheriffs, able to find the members of FOKUS who, thinking that a team would be pushing after that jet looking for their trade, swung out far too aggressively and didn't expect the sheriffs to be that accurate that quick.
Lime squeezes out 3 kills and leaves a sour taste in the mouth of FOKUS. This looks to be the 12th, and then where's your money gone? There's absolutely none left. David has to clutch a 1v4, which is just not happening. I can't believe it. It just happens so quickly. Blink and you'll miss it. FOKUS take control of the B site. Yes, Mars can take 1, but with a Bulldog, it's really difficult to get that spray transfer. And there we have it. Lime just lining them up. There's 1. There's 2, and then this one I think is probably the most impressive of the lot. Mid-air, Mishu falling out of window, and FOKUS perhaps falling out of their chances of finding a map anytime they're split.
Yeah, that spirals back to the pressure that they must be feeling, right? They got their first pick, they think, okay, we can get more, we can win this round here and now, and as a result, Lime's able to get the opportunity to find those free plays with a sheriff. Kills he should not have had. Let's be honest, he should have been down the second that he pushed towards Courtyard, but that does not happen. And now it's match point, and FOKUS, it's not a great buy. They have to push aggressively into Courtyard. They have to try and find any point of contact early on from FOKUS to pick away at the numbers and prevent this attacking team from just being able to group up and push onto a site.
They're going for the quick retake here. You're either doing it or you're not, and it seems like FOKUS may have just committed to this one. Players dropping 1 at a time. This is last gambit stuff, and they've only got a sheriff in hand each. Yeah, Lewis was really good at it, and so was Mast on the previous map, but against 5 Vandals, with crossfires established, turrets to play contact and the like, you are realistically looking at this one just ending up 2-0. FOKUS, perhaps that car needs to spend a little bit more time in the engine room. Those wheels could do with a fitting or 2. Lots of issues coming to light. The first map close, but the second one not really whatsoever. And unfortunately for them, FOKUS will deny another opportunity at finding a game here.
I mean, you can see why the team is called FOKUS. Right, when they decide on a game plan, everyone is on the same wavelength. It is so impressive that they're able to do it so consistently. This is what we talk about when we talk about synergy, right? And given the fact that this is a team that is still relatively new with its members, right? They relatively newly picked up Lime off of Angry Titans and sort of incorporated him into this team. Your boy Lewis is still relatively new to the IGL role as well, which makes it even more impressive how coordinated they looked on Haven, because it's really easy to tell. When your Breach and your Jet are misaligned in game plans, it is so obvious and so easy for your enemies to take advantage of, because the Jet has to commit so deeply into enemy territory to be able to play effectively off of Breach utility. But every single time we saw your boy Lewis and Yugi working in tandem to be able to retake that A, they were just one unit, one hive mind, and it was absolutely brutal, but absolutely mesmerizing.
Like a sick and twisted dance of sorts. Yugi there, you got to show that one 2 times, the collat out of mid. But even then, you know, it's one set of kills on what was just a brilliant performance as a whole. The highlight plays will always grab the headlines, but like you mentioned, the consistent team play that FOKUS have been able to show here from the back of Lewis's leadership, I think is, mesmerizing. Like you said, the perfect example of where FOKUS struggled would be on the complete contrary. You look at the last round retake, they didn't know whether okay, are we trying to fight this straight away? Are we going to hold off and play for utility? You know, what is the set game plan? Those protocols just perhaps not quite clicking for them. We have to highlight it. Yugi, 326 ACS, actually finishing on 22 kills, which is somewhat funny considering I think we highlighted him on what, like 21-1 or something. So for him to only finish on that, I say only finish on that, it is a 5 KD. It is a little bit humorous, but at the same time, I mean, what a performance.
Yeah, Yugi was just on absolute fire. We can joke about it, but there is no other way that we can say, and we cannot overstate this enough, how important he was for this team. Because I think not only were they just so coordinated, but it goes in part to one thing that FOKUS suffered with on Haven, right? You had such a close matchup between yourself and your opponent. FOKUS on Pearl, you're thinking, okay, we've got that confidence, we're winning the duelist matches, we've had some really good set plans, we're coming into Haven, we can try and take this, and then you just get back to back to back losses of retakes on Haven, where you have numbers advantage, utility advantage, weapons advantage, and each and every single one of those advantages that you have is a different blow to your psyche. You are thinking, this is what we should have. This should be as easy as us putting the spike down and signing the round away. And first it happens and you're like, okay, maybe it's just a little bit of a fluke. Maybe it's just really good coordination between your boy Lewis's breach and Yugi on that jet. And then it happens again and again and again. And it feels like it's just those little moments of breakage over in communication or concentration coming out from this team where they're not able, once they get that spike down, to come up with a game plan cohesively for all of the members, that everyone is in position to be able to play for that retake, at least not fast enough. And that is something that FOKUS take full advantage of, because when they decide for the retake, it's fast. They don't give anyone the luxury of setting up for angles under hell or around tunnels so that it forces you into using things like the breach utility to bypass your way from connector into that A side. It is just split seconds of FOKUS going spikes down. Okay, well, we're just going to walk straight back onto site. What are you going to do about it?
FOKUS were incredibly well organized, and the best person to speak to about that organization, I believe, would be Lewis, who's going to be joining us here for an interview. Firstly, congratulations, mate. Good win for you guys to keep that form going after the match against Apex. You know, you obviously said after the Bonk game that you hadn't been IGLing for too long, but is there anything that you changed between sort of last week and this week, perhaps, that has helped the team spin out another wonderful performance?
Yeah, a lot of it was to do with the preparation. Like we understood, especially even I'd say all three performances, we haven't been playing to our limit. We changed like the way we prac, and we stuck to kind of the basics. And I mean, you've seen it today. We smashed out the basics, and it's literally the reason why we won. Like they couldn't get anywhere near us in the first game. It was their pick. They had some like nice plays. It was quite a close game in the first one, but then obviously on our map in the second one, which I think we surprised them with the Haven pick. After not like doing too well against Bonk, obviously they smashed us on it the other day. I think, yeah, we caught them off guard, and yeah, they couldn't get near us.
I mean, speaking of catching off guard, we were talking and highlighting your play with Yugi in terms of retakes on Haven A, a point that is notoriously difficult for defenders to be able to retake once that spike goes down. Was there any specific reason on why you were able to so consistently walk away with that fight win?
What, all the retakes or just like the pistol round?
All the retakes.
I mean, it's just finding timings. Like they didn't really stop us. Which was like, it's quite confusing. Like retaking and playing post plant on A is really easy to play against, but we kind of abused like the heaven peak, like they weren't really like ready for it. The combining utility worked for us really well, and I mean, I don't think that Yuki died until about 20 kills or something, so he was just hitting every shot. So I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, it was a bit of a surprise for us in a way when we saw it fly up on the scoreboard, but at the same time, he was there the whole time, right? Present in pretty much every fight, and you guys set him up incredibly well to do that. I guess going back to setting things up and organizing things, the one I want to focus on a little bit more is that first map, because it's fair to say that it was a bit more competitive than Haven in many aspects. What were you saying to your teammates during the pauses, sort of in between some of those breaks where FOKUS were starting to build up that momentum and you needed to just offload it a bit?
Yeah, it's just to chill out a bit and have more of a game plan versus what they did. I mean, what they did within the first 5 rounds, they were going to do the whole time. Playing with Phoenix, you can be quite one-dimensional. You know, get the orbs, go ult, get the orbs, go ult, and it's just coming up with trying to like counter that, stop it, but also catch them off guard. So we changed it up a bit. We started hitting them, like getting in their face a bit more, and then like changing the tempo. And yeah, they couldn't really do anything about it. I mean, they were still, you know, getting a few rounds here and there. And then obviously when you go and win an eco, I think I hit like 3 shots with the sheriff, and like it kind of kills the mental for them as well. It kind of like when you lose like an eco, it kind of kills the momentum for them, which was like the biggest part for us, I guess.
So we were singing the praises of the songs that you sang with the sheriff as well to bring it up about those ecos. Can you walk us through how specifically you are able to make the sheriff so impactful and effective when you're going up against things like rifles early on in rounds?
I think the sheriff's the easiest gun in the game. Like all of it is just crosshair placement. Genuinely, it's like such an easy gun to go and get kills with, and it's easy to die from. If someone's hitting their shots, it's like it's a one tap, right? So it's as easy to get a kill with that as it is with a vandal. If you land the shot, then you're dead. So I mean, I guess I'm pretty decent with the sheriff, but so is everyone. You know, everyone in this team's got really really good aim, so it's really difficult. But so is everyone. Like I think we lost an eco on maybe Haven, possibly. I can't remember. But
I think there was like one round here and there. Do you know what I mean? I think the beginning of all of the games, it was quite back and forth, but as it sort of ironed its way out, it ran the course, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's Sheriff's just a good gun. It's as good as a Stinger as well.
Yeah, it's the fire rate as well. I feel like in comparison to other games, it fires pretty quickly, so you've always got a good chance at firing off those shots. And look, if you say it's easy, you certainly made it look easy. Once again, congratulations for your you guys' performance. Nice. It was another great one to watch. So best of luck in the rest of your games and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Nice one. Thanks very much. See you later.
Well, strong words from Lewis in terms of his sheriff gameplay, but like I said, the guy makes it look easy.
I meant crosshair placement. He really did hit the nail on the head. Like, that was something that FOKUS had to an absolute T, right? Whenever we saw them anticipating anyone being forced out of position either by Hunter's Fury or the Breach aftershocks, their head trigger tracking would always be on point. They would always be able to catch the head whenever a player ran out from that angle, and they would always be able to turn it into a kill. And that goes to show how good this team are in terms of their mechanicals. And I cannot wait to see what they grow into as they continue their run of this region, because I think they're going to have some absolute stunners of matches if that's how strong and cohesive they look with that little time, just a week really, to be able to iron out some of the problems that they showed in the previous series.
Yeah, I mean, they are looking to head towards the top to make it to, well, Ascension, I suppose, ascend to the upper echelons of Valorant. And yeah, as you said, mechanically, some very strong players. Not just the tactical side, which we've delved into quite a lot, but there were plenty of times across the series where we saw individual step-ups that can lend you around here or there, and those are the fine margins which makes you a top team. So that's our first series wrapped up. It's another unfortunate 2-0 loss for FOKUS, a win for FOKUS to carry on their momentum. We've got another game coming up for you, HSDIV versus Human Tripwires, two teams which are also in different places, I think it's fair to say, but we'll have to see how they fare against one another when they collide after the break.
Bullets left. He's gonna have to go for that reload, instead picks up the Vandal.
Nice! Holy! Important. That's
bra
right.
du är, ja.
Nice bro.
Nice.
Two side. One more side.
Dead is coming left side. Left side, Kimmy. Left side, Kimmy. Nice.
DV1. I'm healing. On me, on me.
I'm on it, Kimmy.
One more.
Nice,
Nice!
Kimmy.
Nice Kimmy. Nice Kimmy.
What? Nille!
Makes it one-on-one against Chihuahua.
Nice! Insane, man. Insane clutch.
Oh my god, Nille. Oh my
Nille,
god.
say your thing. Say your thing. Say your thing.
Melly, let's walk right. Let's walk right. Come.
Nice!
Let's go. This is how we play. This is how we play, yeah?
Yes, much better.
Live.
Go. Right. Let's go. I can run this.
Nice done!
Let's go.
Animal, bro. Let's go. Big round, bro. Let's go. Good. Nice.
I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna go through.
Do it.
That bomb.
Let's go, boys. Let's go.
That's good. That's good.
What the?
Play as much as you can, watch as much Valorant as you can, and to just kind of replicate what you see other professionals do, whether that's watching a VOD or a stream, and just making sure that you're learning new stuff every day.
My first advice would be to watch your own gameplay, like VOD review yourself. My second advice would be to do the boring work, like watch other people's VODs, how they do things. The third advice would be to unbind your crouch.
I'd say Lime. He's impressed me recently. I watched a few of the FOKUS games. Chihuahua as well. His cypher's a bit mental.
Oh my god, Chihuahua. The luck. This guy always pulls out something to surprise the opposition.
And then Kicks, yeah. I like Kicks. His pop flashes are crazy.
Kicks once again back to the rescue, but little do they know.
I would say Kaiko from Apex, Yugi from FOKUS, and Lear from my team. Kaiko has been performing really good.
Got it back, finds the next head. Must is down now to pop flash to keep him at bay, but keep in mind, you're not actually keeping Keiko at bay, you're just keeping his run it back away.
Yugi has showed people before that he can play really good and win his team some games.
Can't just say all my teammates.
I can't say teammates, that's kind of cringe.
Lozo, Cray, and Stanley. They're just the boys.
Polvy, Eccles, and Stanley. Polvy was my ex-teammate, and I've known Stanley and Eccles for a long time, so I enjoy watching their games.
Winning Polaris. I think that's just an overall goal for me. Like I want to win a VCL, then get promoted to Ascension. I think everyone's goal in these leagues. Being able to sustain a good career in esports is also a goal, personally, for me.
I'd like to achieve this season winning one of the splits of Polaris. I'd love for us to sign to an organization. Being in an organization will help with everything to do with our team, and winning one of the splits, hopefully that would lead to us qualifying to the Ascension tournament, which is obviously the goal for everyone in my team, and I presume everyone in Polaris.
There's something in the air.